6:15, this is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Catherine Pereira and read by Lavani Vijayatunga. First, we take a look at the headlines. A sluice gate of the Upper Kothmale Reservoir has been opened due to the heavy rain experienced in the area. Payment of compensation for the farmers whose crops were damaged due to the droughts and floods will begin from next month. The Foreign Employment Bureau has sent $10,000 to the Sri Lankan Embassy office in Israel. Sri Lanka-India passenger ferry service resumed after 40 years. Grade 5 scholarship examination will be conducted tomorrow at 2,888 centres. In news overseas, New Zealand election, National Party's Chris Luxon wins. Those are the headlines, and now let's move on to the details of the local news. The Disaster Management Unit of the Nuwara Eliya district says that a sluice gate of the Upper Kothmale Reservoir has been opened automatically. The reason has been attributed to the heavy rain experienced in the upper catchment area of the reservoir. If rain continues further, the other sluice gates will also be opened. The engineers in charge of the Kothmale Reservoir said that the people living in the area should be alert in this regard. Minister Mahinda Amaraveera says that the payment of compensation for the farmers whose crops were damaged due to the drought and floods will begin from next month. Under the first stage of the compensation, it will be provided to the farmers who were affected by the drought. He made these remarks at a progress review meeting of the cultivation of the farmers in the northern province. Distribution of fertilizer needed for farmers has already commenced. The Foreign Employment Bureau has sent $10,000 to the Sri Lankan Embassy office in Israel to provide the necessary welfare facilities for the Sri Lankan in Israel in case of emergencies. This money has been allocated to provide food, medicines and other facilities to the Sri Lankan migrants in Israel. The Bureau is also ready to provide further assistance needed for them. President Ranil Wickremesinghe and Minister Manusha Nanayakara have advised the relevant officials to provide all facilities needed for them. This is the news from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
People's Bank Excelsior. Live the life you want.
And we continue with more local news. Nearly 4 decades after India and Sri Lanka stopped a passenger ferry service, a high-speed passenger ferry service was launched today once again, connecting the two neighbouring countries. Accordingly, the Cheriyapani ferry service links Nagapattinam in Tamil Nadu with Kankesanthurei in the northern province of Sri Lanka. Cheriyapani departed Nagapattinam port towards Kankesanthurei with 50 passengers and 12 crew members under Captain Biju George this morning. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressed gratitude after the passenger ferry service was resumed. In a video address, he said, "We are embarking on a new chapter in diplomatic and economic relations between India and Sri Lanka. The launch of a ferry service between Nagapattinam and Kankesanthurei is an important milestone in strengthening our relationship," it said. Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena says that calling tenders has been carried out to bring 200 electric buses. Calling of tenders will end on the 20th of this month. Measures have also been taken to register electric three-wheelers. Therefore, the Motor Traffic Act should be amended. And to conclude the local news, the headlines once again. A sluice gate of the Upper Kothmale Reservoir has been opened due to the heavy rain experienced in the area. Payment of compensation for the farmers whose crops were damaged due to the drought and floods will begin from next month. The Foreign Employment Bureau has sent $10,000 to the Sri Lankan Embassy office in Israel. Sri Lanka-India passenger ferry service resumed after 40 years. The Grade 5 scholarship examinations will be conducted tomorrow at 2,888 centres. And that was the local news.
People's Bank Excelsior, a comprehensive banking services package with a branded checkbook as well as debit and credit card exclusively for you. People's Bank Excelsior, for professionals who dare to dream.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Veda.
The main news story for this evening, all necessary arrangements have been made to hold the Grade 5 scholarship examination for the year 2023 tomorrow at 2,888 examination centres across the country. According to the Commissioner General of Examinations, Amit Jasundara, a total of 337,956 candidates are registered to sit for the examination this year. The Commissioner General of Examinations said, taking into account the disaster situation in some parts of the southern province, a special program is in place for students in the affected areas. And that was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
Moving on to Watchtide, Gal Pottawala Road in Mithiagoda in Ambalangoda is in a dilapidated condition. The residents said that the passengers and the students are facing many difficulties due to this reason. Therefore, they request the relevant authorities to take necessary measures to renovate the road. This is for the attention of the Road Development Authority. That came to you in Watchlight, and now let's move on to the headlines of the world news. New Zealand election, National Party's Chris Luxon wins. US claims that North Korea is sending military equipment to Russia. Israel tells Gaza residents to head south on 2 routes. Those are the headlines, and now let's move on to the details of the world news. Centre-right opposition leader Christopher Luxon has won the 2023 New Zealand election. Labour Prime Minister Chris Hipkins phoned the National Party leader to concede defeat tonight. He thanked the supporters for their campaign work and said the results was not one that many of us wanted. Radio New Zealand reported. Chris Luxon first joined Parliament in the year 2020 and rose to be the leader of the opposition in November 2021. Some of Mr. Luxon's key election campaign promises include tax cuts for middle-income earners and a crackdown on crime. U.S. officials have accused North Korea of supplying vast amounts of military hardware to Russia for use in Ukraine. Pyongyang has shipped up to 1,000 containers of equipment and munition in recent weeks, National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby said. Officials also released photos of what they said were 300 containers assembled for transport in Aegean, North Korea. Last month, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un visited Russia to discuss potential military cooperation. Moscow's military is believed to be burning through huge amounts of artillery shells and missiles in its ongoing invasion of Ukraine and has been seeking to replenish its supplies from some of its isolated allies. Israel has warned 1.1 million Palestinians living in the north Gaza to evacuate south, and thousands have been fleeing in vehicle or on foot. UN Chief Antonio Guterres said that a call for a mass evacuation was extremely hazardous, and he urged humanitarian access. Israel has also denied its military recovered bodies of missing Israelis in a ground radio raid on Gaza on Friday, contradicting earlier reports. More than 1,300 people were killed in Israel last weekend when Hamas fighters crossed the border to attack civilians and soldiers. And that was the world news.
Development news.
In development news, Veerakatiya Heenbunnam, however, will be renovated by the Irrigation Department. The government has allocated 15 million rupees for the project. Water supply will be provided to 350 acres of paddy land through this project. And that came to you in the segment of development news.
Sports news is brought to you by Shakti. Refresh your mind and body with Shakti Energy Drink. 350 rupees only. Available at island-wide leading groceries and supermarkets. Shakti. Taste the power.
Moving on to sports news, the 12th match of the World Championship tournament is being held in Ahmedabad. Pakistani and Indian teams are competing. India won the toss and decided to field first. Batting first, Pakistan has scored 182 runs for the loss of 7 wickets at the end of the 39th over a short while ago. That was the sports news. Business news coming up.
Shakti. Refresh your mind and body with Shakti Energy Drink. 350 rupees only. Available at island-wide leading groceries and supermarkets. Shakti. Taste the power.
Go ekathiana youth kat life ke change kat niyamata setna as wahagena dak pugina habe karana youth kat niyamata setna friendship ekamenna.
The all-new NSB Ithru account, NSB IAM, a plan for your dream.
Business news, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
A meeting between the buyers and sellers organized by the Small Entrepreneur Development Unit of the Kampar district may be held at the Oasis Beach Resort in Negombo on Tuesday. Opportunities will be made to order and purchase the products without intermediaries. That was the business news. Economic news follows.
Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money.
Go එකක් තියන youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හීන හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න
The all-new NSB Ithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
In economic news, Sri Lanka Economic Summit will be held on the 28th and 29th of this month in Colombo. It will be held under the theme of expediting the reconstruction work in the country. That is economic news, and finally the weather report.
Weather report.
The weather report to conclude the bulletin, the red alert was issued on thunder showers accompanied by lightning that are likely to occur in the northern, north-central, Uva and Sabaragamu provinces during the evening or night, the meteorology department said today. The public is cautioned to take necessary precautions to safeguard themselves against lightning, the department said. The meteorology department cautioned people not to seek shelter under trees but to stay indoors. People are also advised to avoid open areas such as paddy fields, tea plantations and open water bodies during thunderstorms, and also avoid using wired telephones and connected electrical appliances during thunderstorms. People are also cautioned to be aware of fallen trees and power lines. And before we conclude this bulletin, let's get back to the headlines once again. A sluice gate of the Upper Kotmale Reservoir has been opened due to the heavy rain experienced in the area. Payment of compensation for the farmers whose crops were damaged due to the drought and floods will begin from next month. The Foreign Employment Bureau has sent $10,000 to the Sri Lankan Embassy office in Israel. Sri Lanka-India passenger ferry service resumed after 40 years. The Grade 5 scholarship examination will be conducted tomorrow at 2,888 centres. And in news overseas, New Zealand election, National Party's Chris Luxon wins. And with that, we conclude this bulletin of news. Now it's back to your Saturday evening regular host, our good friend Shantima, to keep you entertained.